welcome to the deep dive. Today, you're joining us as we get right into the nuts and bolts, really, of starting a project on the Native Instruments machine mk3.
Yeah, that's right.
Our guide for this deep dive is a fantastic beginner's tutorial video. It's from the YouTube channel, The Sound Test Room.
Mm-hmm. Solid channel.
And our mission is pretty focused.
Huh.
Just extract the essential first steps for getting up and running with the machine hardware itself. That's the key part, right? The hardware.
Exactly. We want you to really get that core workflow, that feeling of actually making music on the device, maybe before you even really worry too much about the software side.
Yeah, this is for you, the listener, who's maybe just unboxed it, ready to power it on and, make some noise.
Right. So picture this. You've got that sleek mk3. It's on, the screen's blank, nothing loaded, nothing playing. It's completely fresh.
Which is cool, but also a bit intimidating. Like, where do you start?
Totally. It can feel a bit empty. So like the tutorial points out, the absolute first thing you got to do is get some sounds in there, fill the void.
Right. And what I found really useful in this tutorial was its strong focus on the hardware itself. The machine, it's obviously this powerful controller for the software.
Oh, yeah. Super powerful.
But it can do so much just on the unit. The video creator mentions, okay, maybe for naming patterns or scenes, you'll dip into the software.
Sure, for typing and stuff.
But for everything we're digging into today, we're staying hands-on with the mk3. So the big question is, where do we even start pulling in sound?
It all starts with one button press. Browser. That's your key.
The browser button.
Okay. Think of it like opening the door to your whole sound library inside the machine. All the building blocks are in there.
Okay, let's unpack that browser a bit. It organizes things into different types, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The tutorial mentioned one-shots, loops, effects.
Right. Instruments, sounds, which are like individual hits, and then the big one for starting out, groups.
Groups. Okay, so why groups first?
Yeah.
What makes them the go-to for a beginner?
Well, the tutorial really steers you there, and it makes sense. Groups are often like instant inspiration packs. Think a drum kit.
Ah, okay. Like a whole kit ready to go.
Exactly. A curated drum kit, for instance. It immediately suggests a vibe, a rhythm maybe, gives you a great starting point creatively. They're pre-assembled collections, sounds that work well together, a cohesive palette right away.
That makes a lot of sense, like getting the whole band in one click almost. So, okay, we had groups in the browser. How do we actually see what's what? I hear this thing has a massive library.
Oh, it absolutely does. The tutorial shows you navigating with the rotary encoders. You'll hear them talk about the 40 encoder.
The big one in the middle.
Yeah, the main dial you can turn and push in different directions. So usually the main encoder scrolls through those top-level categories. You'll probably see Maschine as a big one.
Okay.
Now, here's where it can get a bit deeper. Selecting one of those might reveal sub-banks on the display. Things like all banks, Maschine 1.8 library, Maschine 2 library,
Like folders within folders. It's
pretty much. Helps you narrow things down, though, as the video points out, some groups, like their Solar Breeze example, might not have those extra layers. It keeps it simpler sometimes.
Okay, so we're turning the dial, maybe pushing it to dive deeper, scrolling through, what did the tutorial say, 955 kits? Something crazy like that.
And if you flip there.
How do you even begin to choose? You can't just load every single one, can you? That'd take forever.
No way. And that's exactly where the preview function is your absolute best friend.
Ah, preview. Okay.
The tutorial explains. Hold down Shift, then press the button labeled PRE for preview, obviously.
Gotcha. Shift plus PRE.
And the machine plays a little demo pattern designed just for that kit you've highlighted.
Oh, wow. That's a game changer. I remember ages ago just clicking through endless lists of sounds that would have saved hours.
Totally. It gives you that quick taste, a sonic snapshot. Before you commit to loading it, you hear it in action.
Super helpful. Like a trailer for the drum kit. So the tutorial then walks through actually loading one. Which kit did they pick?
They went with the Abbey Road Vintage Kit. Nice choice.
Classic. And how do you load it?
Just select it, hit the load button, boom.
That's it?
That's it. The sounds from that kit automatically map across the pads, and it creates a brand new Group A to hold them. You go from empty project to playable kit in like seconds.
Nice. Now, when they were loading, I caught a mention of something called plus patterns.
Mm-hmm.
What's that about? And why did they kind of say, ignore this for now?
Good catch. Yeah, plus patterns. You get to it by holding Shift and hitting the little plus button next to patterns.
Okay.
And it does what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It can load pre-made patterns with the kit.
Oh, so you get beats instantly.
Yeah, which might sound great, like a shortcut. But the tutorial makes a really smart suggestion for pure beginners. Just leave it off initially.
Why is that?
The thinking is solid. It lets you focus purely on how the sounds get loaded and then how you are going to build your own patterns later. Keeps things from getting too complex right at the start. Too many things happening at once, you know?
One step at a time. Build the foundation. Makes perfect sense. Okay, so we've got our killer vintage drum kit loaded. What's the next logical thing, like the next big setting?
Tempo. Got to set the pace, right? The speed of the track.
Definitely. How do we do that?
The tutorial points us to the plugin instance button, labeled plugin.
Plugin. Isn't that for effects?
It is, but it's kind of multi-purpose. Yeah, you use it for adding effects to groups or the master output or single sounds, but it also conveniently shows the current project tempo on the screen.
Ah, okay, so it doubles as an info display.
Exactly, and the default is usually 120 BPM.
Okay, so plugin shows the tempo. Good to know. But how do we actually change it if, 120 isn't our vibe?
They show a really practical way using the metronome.
The click track.
Yep. Hold Shift, press the button labeled Metro. That turns on the click.
Okay, Shift plus Metro. Click on.
Then you press the dedicated tempo button. And now that main 4D encoder, the big dial, again lets you dial in the exact BPM you want.
So tempo button activates the dial for tempo change.
Precisely. Once you've got it where you want it, just hit stop to turn off the playback and the metronome click.
Brilliant. Metronome on for reference, tempo button, then dial it in with the encoder. Makes total sense. Now, the tutorial also flagged, 3 other really key buttons for immediate control once you've got sound loaded. What were those?
Yeah, those are your sort of instant access performance controls right there when you need them. Swing and volume. And even though we just talked about it, tempo is kind of part of that cluster too.
Right. Let's dig into swing and volume. What do they let us tweak immediately?
Okay, so press the swing button, then use that 4D encoder. That lets you adjust the master swing amount for the whole project.
Swing. That's about the groove, right? Making it less robotic.
Exactly. Even a little bit of swing can totally change the feel, takes a straight beat and gives it more of a human, relaxed, or sometimes even a driving feel. Think hip-hop, house music. They use swing a lot.
And you can adjust it on the fly.
Yeah, the tutorial mentions you can dial it in while the beat's playing to really hear the effect. Then the volume button, press that, use the encoder, and you're controlling the overall master volume of the whole project, your main output level. Super important.
Basic, but crucial. Get the feel right. Don't deafen yourself.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, kit loaded, tempo set, swing, and volume accessible. Next step. I got to be actually making some noise, right? Making our first pattern. How do we get into that mode?
That's the pattern button. Simple press opens up pattern mode.
Okay.
And here's a useful little tip they shared. If you want to stay in pattern mode without holding the button, you can pin it.
Pin it? How?
Just press the button directly below the main pattern button on the screen label. That keeps the mode active. And this pinning trick works for all the main mode buttons, actually. Real-time saver.
That's handy. Keeps the flow going. So we're in pin pattern mode. What's the recommended next step? Just start banging on pads?
You could, technically. But the tutorial suggests being a bit more organized, especially for beginners. Use the create function within pattern mode first.
Create.
Yeah. Think of patterns like little musical containers, like phrases. Hitting create makes a new empty one. Helps keep your ideas organized from the get-go. You'll see a fresh, empty pattern pop up.
Okay, create a new container. Then there was something about pattern length. It defaults to auto. What's that mean and why change it?
Auto pattern length basically means it'll just keep recording as long as you play, up to 256 bars.
Yeah.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, way too long for a first beat.
Right. For a beginner, just getting the feel, that's maybe too open-ended. So the tutorial wisely says change it to a fixed length, specifically 4 bars.
How do you change it?
Just turn that main 4D encoder while the length is shown on screen. 4 bars gives you a nice manageable loop to work with, much easier to grasp the structure.
A 4-bar loop sounds perfect for starting out. But what if you wanted, 3 bars, something a bit odd?
That's where trusty shift comes in again. Just like with fine-tuning tempo, hold shift while turning the encoder for pattern length, and you get much finer control.
Shift for precision.
Exactly. So you could dial in exactly 3 bars or 5 or whatever with that extra control.
Nice. So we've made our 4-bar container. Now, how do we actually, put notes in it, lay down a beat? The tutorial mentioned switching to events mode.
Yeah, events mode. Think of it like this. Pattern mode sets the stage, the length, the container. Events mode is where you actually record the individual notes, the events inside that container.
Okay, pattern is the frame, events is the picture inside.
Good way to put it. Once you've set your 4-bar length in pattern mode, switching to events mode is like saying, okay, Ready to play my beat within this loop. You'll see a grid display where the notes will appear.
Got it. So 4-bar frame set, we're in events mode. How do we actually start recording that first beat?
The tutorial shows a simple method. Hold, shift, press record.
Shift plus record.
That kicks off a 4-bar count-in. You'll hear the metronome click 4 times to get you ready.
Gives you time to prepare.
Exactly. Then just play a rhythm on the pads. They deliberately played something a bit sloppy in the example.
Oh, I know that feeling. My first rhythms were definitely unique.
Precisely to set up the next crucial concept.
Which is quantization, my old friend.
Hmm.
Or enemy sometimes. For anyone listening who's maybe new to this, what is quantization? Why is it such a lifesaver after a sloppy take?
Quantization is basically your digital rhythm fixer. It nudges your recorded notes automatically to the nearest grid line based on whatever timing resolution you've set.
So it cleans up mistakes.
Pretty much. If your timing was a bit off snare a bit early, kick a bit late, quantization snaps them into place, rhythmically speaking. The tutorial shows you can do it really easily. While the pattern's playing back, hold shift and press either the 50% or 100% quantization option.
50 or 100, what's the difference?
100% snaps it perfectly to the grid. 50% moves it halfway towards the grid so it keeps a bit more of the original human feel, but still tightens it up. It's a quick way to make things sound much more precise.
Definitely essential. Then the tutorial moves on to layering, right? Adding a hi-hat over the kick and snare. Same process.
Exactly the same. Once you have your first layer recorded, just hit shift plus record again while it's looping, play the hi-hats or whatever else, and they get added right on top. Build up your beat layer by layer.
Cool. So we've got a basic beat, maybe quantized it a bit, added some hats. Now, what if we want variations, like for a chorus or something? Tutorial mentioned duplicating patterns.
Yeah, crucial for building sections. Duplicating is easy. Say you've got your main beat in pattern 1, select it, use the duplicate function.
Where's that?
Usually accessible via the buttons under the screen when you're in pattern mode. It creates a brand new identical copy pattern 2.
An exact copy.
Okay. The tutorial also quickly mentioned a double function. That takes your current pattern, say 4 bars, and makes it 8 bars long, copying the MIDI data over. But for just making a variation, duplicate is usually the way to go.
So we hit duplicate, get pattern 2, which is the same as pattern 1. Then how do we actually make it different?
Simple. Just switch back to events mode for that new pattern, pattern 2. Then you can go in and record new stuff, delete notes, change the kick pattern, whatever you want. It's a great way to build out song sections without starting from scratch every time. Use the original as a base and evolve it.
Really efficient. Keeps the ideas flowing without tedious repetition. Okay, then the tutorial shifted gears slightly to the mixer. Where's that button and what does it let us control?
The mixer button takes you to a screen showing levels and panning for your sounds. When you first go in after loading a group, like our drum kit, you'll see channels for each pad, sound kick, snare, hat, etc.
So you can adjust the volume of each drum individually.
Exactly. Fine-tune the balance within the kit. Maybe you want the kick louder, the snare quieter. Get the internal balance right.
Makes sense. But then they mentioned group level mixing too. How do we get to that?
While you're in the mixer, push that main 4D encoder upwards. That switches the view to the group level mixer.
Push up.
Yep, and that gives you one main volume control for the entire drum kit group A in our case. As you add more groups later, bass, keys, whatever, they'll show up here too. It's how you balance the main sections of your whole track, essential for bigger projects.
Got it. Individual sounds first, then push up for the whole group's volume. What about panning? Making sounds left or right?
Also in the mixer. When you have an individual sounds channel selected, push the 4D encoder inwards. Click it in.
Push in for pan.
Right. That puts you in pan mode for that sound. Then you turn the encoder to place it left or right in the stereo field. Creates width, space. Pan the hat slightly left, maybe a shaker right.
Makes the mix sound bigger.
Definitely. Then just push the encoder in again to get back to the volume control for that sound.
Volume for depth, pan for width.
Got it. Okay, lastly, the tutorial gave a quick overview of organization patterns and scenes. Can you clarify those for us beginners at this stage?
Sure. So based on the tutorial, we've made a couple of patterns, pattern 1, pattern 2. Those are little musical ideas, the drum beats.
The building blocks.
Exactly. Now, Maschine organizes these patterns within scenes. Right now, our project just has one scene, and that scene contains both pattern 1 and pattern 2.
So a scene holds patterns.
Kind of.
Yeah.
A scene determines which pattern plays back in which group at the same time. So scene 1 might play pattern 1 from our drum group, group A. Then you could make scene 2 play pattern 2 from group A. Later, if you added a bass group, Group B, with its own patterns, a scene would define which drum pattern plays and which bass pattern plays together.
Ah, okay, so scenes arrange which patterns play together across different groups, like sections of a song.
Precisely, like verse 1, chorus 1, etc. The tutorial also mentioned song mode and ideas mode for arranging scenes into a full track.
Yeah, I think I mentioned I prefer ideas mode personally. Right, but those are definitely deeper topics for another time. For now, just know patterns are the ideas, scenes group them.
Got it. And one last handy tip, they shared the visual feedback. The display always shows where you are in the beat.
It really does. Super useful. No matter what mode you're in, browser, mixer, whatever, the very top of the screen always shows the current beat and bar count for whatever pattern or scene is playing.
So you never lose your place.
Exactly. Constant visual reference keeps you oriented in the music, even if you're tweaking effects or something. It's a great little feature.
Okay, so let's wrap this section up. In this deep dive aimed right at you, the listener starting out, we've really covered those first crucial steps, getting sounds in via the browser, loading a group like that drum kit.
Previewing first, of course. Shift plus PRE.
Right. Setting the tempo with a metronome and encoder, getting a feel for master swing and volume.
Then creating that first pattern, setting its length, maybe 4 bars to start.
Recording in events mode.
Yeah.
Maybe using a bit of quantization to tighten things up.
Then duplicating that pattern to create variations, and finally getting a basic look at the mixer for individual sounds and the overall group level, plus a little panning.
Phew.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot, but it's really that core loop of getting started.
And understanding these fundamentals, these building blocks, is just so incredibly important. You now really have that basic workflow down for getting your first ideas recorded, all within the machine hardware itself.
It's about sparking that initial creativity, isn't it? Getting something happening quickly.
Totally. Getting those juices flowing without getting bogged down right away.
So here's something to think about. Even with just these steps we've covered, these seemingly simple tools, how many different rhythmic ideas could you actually generate?
Good question.
Just by swapping kits, playing with different tempos, maybe trying odd pattern lengths like 3 or 5 bars, what kind of unique grooves and sonic textures could emerge just from these basic tools before you even touch effects or sampling or anything more advanced?
Yeah, the possibilities start opening up pretty quickly, even with just the basics. This is really just the beginning, the first step on your journey with the machine.